what is the Alien franchise in the modern day? In the last decade, we have had very different projects from this franchise, and I can't quite pinpoint its direction or its thematic concerns. Alien Covenant is a blend between a very classic Alien story, but also something a bit philosophical, whereas Alien Romulus is more of a nostalgic romp, I would say, that repeats a lot of your classic Alien stuff. But then Alien Earth is like nothing else in this franchise. It kind of led me to question, like, is this exactly what Alien needs to do? Does it need to do completely new things and different things? Do we lose something from this? I mean, this is weird because I don't know how I feel about this series. After 8 weeks, 8 episodes, I still am a little bit like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely in the scope of the sci-fi genre today, I'd say this one is trying to do something out of the Alien universe. I mean, with the prequel trilogy, well, sorry, the two prequel films.
You
I'm
really have
sorry,
to reopen that wound.
what I loved about those two movies, those prequels, was it was raising its own concerns about the mythologies of Alien. And not many people liked it, but I truly appreciated what Ridley Scott was trying to do. However, in the scope of today, sci-fi is trying to go deeper and question its own universes. But I think here, Alien Earth, a show that is grounded on Earth, just not in space
Hey,
anymore.
very good.
Hey, it's all right. That's what my conclusion to it. It's like, okay, sure. I don't know what it's trying to do. I think it's just failed to commit some of the things that they were trying to do.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they spent the whole time building towards something, and I was like, okay, something, surely next week something's about to happen. And
Yes,
each
and I was
episode,
thinking, it's something going to happen. It is such a slow
mm,
burner of a show. I'd say it's painful.
yeah, when is shit gonna hit the fan? And I feel like the fan is moving very slowly. On one hand, I applaud it for taking its time and doing things slowly, but on the other hand, it was very frustrating.
This is the Out of Time Film Podcast, where your hosts Tom and John discuss everything from blockbuster films to TV and games like there's no tomorrow.
It's worth saying, as we are watching this on Disney Plus, Disney's in a lot of hot water right now. The stuff that's been going on in America with Jimmy Kimmel and them contributing to the decision to take him off air for saying
Nothing.
just
He said
yeah,
absolutely nothing controversial.
basically, yeah, like he
Nothing
just
controversial.
he just literally quoted the president. And of course, Disney is being boycotted and have lost loads of money over this for bending their knee to this awful regime, and I think that is absolutely right. But that doesn't mean that we're going to stop talking about a show like this. We condemn Disney and we absolutely think that they need to be doing better. But
Yes.
I don't think it's fair to Noah Hawley and all the great people who have worked on the show and created this thing for us not to talk about it. So, I want to make it very clear that fuck Disney as this awful corporation, but we will still talk about the art that real artists have worked on in a show that is also about awful corporations. In this show, it's all very much taking the aesthetic of the original Alien, all the computers and the music and the sound effects and the ship that we see. I can't remember the name of the ship, but it's basically
Maginot?
Maginot. It's basically the Nostromo, pretty much like beat for beat, exactly the same with the pods and the kitchen and the hallways and the room where they talk to Mother. All this stuff, it's right there. The show strikes this balance between very nostalgic stuff that you remember, but also giving you new stuff as well. We have Prodigy, this new corporation, as a competitor to Weyland-Yutani, and we see what their kind of stuff looks like. Noah Hawley said, I heard an interview where he said that he wasn't a fan of Prometheus and Covenant introducing all these holograms, massive, large, futuristic technology, when the original Alien was very gritty and grimy and buttons and dials and keyboards. And I wish this show incorporated both. I really do. I think it
Yes.
would have been great to see, because I always thought of it as Alien is a blue collar, very down to earth, very low tech vessel. That's what the Nostromo is. But Prometheus is the highest technology. These are people who are scientists and explorers with the intent of discovering this higher power that Wayland himself is after. Whereas the crew of the Nostromo are just folk, just engineers,
They're in the tank. They're in
Yeah,
the tank.
exactly. They're getting
They
paid
can't do
lower
much.
wage.
Yeah, Alien does greatly show the hardships of labor and actually going through space alone. So it's like Willie Yutani sacrificing a lot of the workers to get to the xenomorph. do go back to basics with the practicality of the show. I do appreciate the set design. This is set on Earth, and I find it interesting that the xenomorph goes through the forests in later episodes. You see it in daylight, which is very bizarre.
I don't think we've ever seen a xenomorph in full clear skies daylight.
Yeah. I mean, Covenant, but in dark blue.
Yeah, it was kind of cloudy. It was Manchester.
Oh, it was Manchester. That's where the xenomorph was on the tram. And
Yeah.
and just
Like, listen, mate, if you don't have a ticket, you're going to be fined.
He didn't tap in. It has to pay the £200 fine. There was one strange thing that they added for this show. You get to see a full-on body suit xenomorph.
Yes.
And it was bizarre because there was one shot that I couldn't stop laughing when the xenomorph saw Morrow in the mother room and then just slowly went back. Like, it was just like, just reversing. And it was like, hold up, there's someone in there. That looks so goofy. There's a lot of goofiness with the practicality, but I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that they're doing something with it.
Yeah, it's a good looking show. The whole thing looks great. Let's talk about the xenomorph.
Yes.
As you mentioned, with it being in daylight, we see the xenomorph like we've never seen it before. Not only in different settings, we see it in an apartment complex, we see it in a jungle, but it felt like to me it was shot differently. There was a moment in episode 2 maybe where I was just thinking to myself, the xenomorph just looks like a bloke in a suit, and it's never looked like that before. Maybe I need to.
You alright, mate? How's Manchester?
Yeah. It's just a guy who wants a pint
in Wetherspoons,
and that's why his head is kind of orangey, because he's just drinking through the massive skull, and it's just beer slowly moving back. Yeah, it's Guinness.
It's just sloshing at the back, and just like,
he's more of
one too many, and one too many in spoons in space.
Yeah. In space, no one can order spoons. That's the classic Alien. We're on it with the local references today. But there's one bit where a xenomorph runs in a room where the light's flickering in the final episode. That scene is the only one that I thought the xenomorph actually looked like what I would imagine xenomorph to be. It looked just like a guy in a suit for the first time.
It doesn't feel as like a xenomorph to me, because when I see a xenomorph, there's got to be something not human-like. It just has to be something unpredictable. Whereas you just see the guy in the suit, they should have done something a bit more because it's on Earth, and I think they should have done something to make it a bit distinct.
I mean, Romulus is such a well-made film, and visually, it does not skip a single beat. One of the reasons why the xenomorph works so well is because so much of it is in shadow and so much is shot close. When you do a xenomorph in a wide shot or a mid shot, in this show, it just felt weird. It just felt like I wasn't looking at a xenomorph. I was just looking at...
He was just like standing in the middle of the room and just like, could I order something, please? And just, it just looks so bizarre. It doesn't feel scary. It just feels like there's a small bug.
But okay, speaking of bugs, you know what was scary?
Hey.
Now, here's the thing about Alien is that once you've done the first movie, maybe after the first two, it gets really difficult to make the xenomorph scary. And I think this is what a lot of the filmmakers have experienced, because we know what it is now. We know how it works. We know how its reproduction system works. We have seen The Queen. We have seen dozens by the time of Aliens. How do you make it different? And I think that everything, mostly they managed to kind of mix it up and do something different, but it's more and more difficult. But this one, there's not just one alien. It's not just the xenomorph, but there are a bunch of different species. And now that is what I loved about this show.
Yeah, dude.
My God, seeing the little eye and
He's my favorite little guy. He's my favorite. T. Ocellus or something.
Does it have a name?
Yeah, it has a name. It's an eye. It's an eye. We didn't see
an
that
eye guy.
I love it. I love it so much. It's one of the most exciting things about this show is that alien creature. It's very refreshing because it's like, okay, what else is in this alien universe? And we've got these weird bugs that shoots acidic something.
Oh my God.
Like that digestive system or something. And then we've got one sucking plant thing that goes from the ceiling or something.
We see its kind of arm throughout the show, but we don't see what it actually looks like until the final episode. When you see how big it is, I was just like, oh my... I was like so freaked out. And then there are these other ones that suck blood, and they start out so small and then they get bigger and bigger. Genuinely, how have we not done this before? How many alien films are there? And pretty much every single alien that we have encountered is some sort of variation on the xenomorph. And of course, we also have the engineers. But it's rare that we've ever done something different like this. And I just thought, wow, brilliant. It kind of made the xenomorph a little bit boring in contrast, because I was so invested in these little little guys. Yeah, that was
They're just chilling.
fantastic.
They're just chilling.
They
They're just like,
really are. Wow, let's
they're
see
like,
more of them.
yeah, I want to see more.
I've never seen the Alien versus Predator movies, so I don't know what the canon is there. But obviously, there is some sort of crossover there. So I like the idea that we're giving expanse to this universe, to this world.
Yeah.
And one of the other great ways to do that, as I previously mentioned, is the integration of our new corporation, which is Prodigy. At times, this show wasn't even about the actual aliens. It was really about the synths that we explore. Now, this is fascinating. Basically, this corporation takes the consciousness, the personalities of these dying children and puts them in new bodies, in synthetic bodies. And we basically just explore, what does that mean to be a child in an adult's body? What does it mean to have an unknown amount of strength and to not need to feel emotion and not need to eat food, but also like, who do you belong to as a robot, as a synth?
Yeah.
Normally an alien film will either do a twist, like, oh my god, it's a synth, or it will be like an evil synth, or it's just a figure in the narrative. But this one, we actually really delve into what that means. And with 8 episodes, you can really explore that. I thought it was brilliant.
Same. Putting the consciousness into a synth was one of the concepts I thought was captivating to think about, because is it that same person? It's kind of like the ship of Theseus. Is it the same person or is it someone else? And how do you find identity in that? They're transported into this island, they have new bodies, but can they really talk about their past? It's terrifying that their childhood is gone into this body. It's just terrifying to think about. Are they still the same? Because it's like they copied the consciousness into the body. So it's like, have they crossed over? Like Wendy, they said, oh, it's like falling asleep. But what happens to her though? The original Wendy, Marcy, is she actually dead? But the consciousness, is that transferred or was it just copied? So that was my rambling.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting in the sense of, how do the different adults treat them? Do they treat them as children? Do the adults become a kind of parental figure, or do they treat them like adults or as devices, tools to be used? A lot of the show kind of explores them finding their own freedom and their own ability to be able to make their own choices. The kind of liberation of those guys was really, really great to see. And Wendy in particular, I mean, she's our protagonist. And this is probably spoiler territory now, but Wendy can communicate with the xenomorph, and she can kind of tap into technology, so she can control the cameras and she can control other synths, and indeed she can communicate and eventually control the xenomorph. I don't know what that means, or what, like, it's a
The
thing that
Matrix! It's like the Matrix all over again. Whoa!
You know what it's like? It's like in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, when they can make the raptor, the Indoraptor, that they can control.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Oh,
Because she develops this skill. It's not something that she just kind of has, but she develops it. But we never really told. Yeah,
it's just that. It's just like, oh, okay, she can do that. Yeah,
Like,
that happened to my
why?
buddy Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to know what is actually happening. And also to note with that, there's so many things that are happening in the story. With Wendy, she's communicating with the xenomorph, but there's also her brother. They reunite, but also he's stuck in the island as well with this corporation. But also there's the other children in the synthetic bodies. They have their own storylines as well. There's one that's freaking out and has their memory wipe, and there's one that has to cooperate with one of the most dangerous cyborgs that we ever encountered, Morrow, one of the most badass characters that we get to introduce in the show, who has like a cyborg arm as well that can just retract a blade.
That's new as well, I think. I don't know if we've seen a cyborg before in Alien, but it's a cool idea.
There's so much more. With Toodles being Isaac, but the original name was Steven. It's a bit confusing when there's so many names and there's so many things that are going on as well. I think Kirsch was like a great callback to Blade Runner Roy Batty. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, the kind of white
like
hair.
Yeah.
It's great, but you're right, there's so much going on. In episode 5, episode 1 begins with our Nostromo that crashes on Earth, and then episode 5 is a flashback episode, which basically just does like a whole Alien short film, but it adds so much, and not in a good way. I think it's in a way that makes it so over complex, and it makes the ending so kind of like, okay, like, like what about this and that? And if there's not more of this show, you question, like, why have they made it in this way? This
Yes.
show is FX and Hulu in America and in the UK, other countries. We got it on Disney Plus, and obviously 20th Century Fox was bought by Disney, and I certainly question, was this show greenlit in that era where Disney was like, we're going to make everything. I'll make a Willow show, make a Jeff Goldblum show, we'll make Percy Jackson, we'll make 1,000 Marvel, all these Star Wars, did all these different shows. They were just going for streaming so hard, and I think it's safe to say that that has mostly failed. Is this one of those projects that they just kind of are like, yeah, let's do it because surely it will be successful? You know, surely the Mighty Ducks sequel will be successful, but it hasn't happened. You know, a lot of these shows don't end up having the impact they want, don't end up having season 2s and sequels, and this show, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that it ends on a cliffhanger. So I question where this is. I hope it gets a season 2 because there's a lot of things to go further into and to wrap up, but I wonder if this was just oversight from a company being like, okay, now we have the Alien franchise, let's just make stuff, we're going to make a movie, we're going to make a show, and was that the right thing to do?
That's a good question because Alien is a popular franchise. There's a lot of imagery. The xenomorphs, one of the most iconic things that we have in cinema. And what they're trying to do is trying to keep it afloat because Alien is a horror series, and horror, in today's standards, does super well. I mean, look at Weapons, look at the Conjuring film recently, and the Sinners this year as well. And it's like, okay, we got to utilize something with Alien, but the thing that struggles with this, the first movie and the second movie are very iconic and completely bended the genre, and it keeps coming back to that. That's how Romulus is very nostalgic. They try to mesh everything together like, oh, let's recreate that. So I do respect they're trying to do it on Earth, but I think they should have done something completely different. Because what was the highlights of the reviews for the show? People were saying that, it's like Andor. That raises expectations. Does it question the Alien universe? Or is it in terms of emotional peak? Those are the questions that we have to go through with Andor. And compared to this, it's like, oh.
Yeah, we're both Empire readers, Empire magazine. Love Empire. Their review, their 5-star review for the season, having watched 6 out of 8 episodes, this is from James Dyer, and he said, quote, Andor for Alien, Hawley's series is a rare prequel that serves to enrich its source material, breathing new life into a once tired franchise. This is the Alien resurrection we've long been waiting for. Unquote. I see what they're saying. I see those elements, but it never really truly came together for me. And maybe that's because the review gave me expectations, made me think it was going to be. But you're right, this is a franchise where the first one's incredible and everyone loved it. And then the second one, it did the impossible and everyone loved that, maybe even more. And then from there, it's a complicated web of controversy. And the real question is, would this show ever be able to truly live up to the legacy of Alien?
It's like the streaming structure that just kind of ruined the show, because I feel like there's so much more that you can explore with this show about the corporation, like the politics side to it, or what is actually happening on Earth to make it look like this.
There's a deleted ending for Resurrection where they go to Earth and it's completely derelict and apocalyptic and essentially abandoned. But that's centuries in the future, so I don't know if they are going to do something like that or not. I don't really know what the plan is here.
If they are going to do season 2, is that going to be directly linked to the first Alien film?
This is set only 2 years before, something like that.
Yeah, so 2 years before they go to LV-426. I don't know what's going to happen. Is it going to retcon a lot of stuff, what Ridley Scott was saying? Just like, hey, there's a bunch of engineers.
I hope not, because this show doesn't, to its credit, this show doesn't actually retcon Prometheus. Yes. I was very worried that it would, but it doesn't. I think that we just need to hope that this one doesn't get cancelled, because a lot of these very interesting shows that have a very solid foundation on streaming get cancelled nowadays. It's not just a Disney thing, it happens all across the board. So, you know, fingers crossed. And I hope that next time, biggest pet peeve of this show, hope next time they don't cut to black every 10 minutes.
Dude, that was just for the ads. That was just for the ads
why?
To roll in. I don't know why.
God.
That was the most,
There's so many better
thing.
ways of doing it.
Oh, and crossfades as well. Guys. Those at the editing team, please do not use so many crossfades. I'm trying to see. I'm trying to see what's happening.
I get it. It was cool in Alien, I know, but you don't have to do it all the time. Like,
with Sid,
please,
with
God.
Sid, please.
Sid.
I don't want to see Sid on screen
From Ice Age.
You could have just done something like, now nice, like a Star Wars, just,
a
just
wipe.
A wipe, something like that. But guys, please chill with the crossfades. Chill with the crossfades.
Anything but
I
the
was like,
crossfade.
it looks cool, but it just gets very tiring.
Do it once. If you do it once, and it's it could be really cool. Like
At
obviously
the
the iconic
start,
shot.
it just could have been at the start. You just could have left it there.
I did quite like how every episode opened with a recap.
Yes.
That kind of incorporated the classic like Alien title.
Visually that you get to
that was
recap
cool.
like, oh, that's cool, rather than to a dialogue.
So what are you gonna give Alien Earth out of 10?
I'm gonna give it a 6.
Okay, I'm going to give it a 7. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you're listening on YouTube and you enjoyed it, you can like and subscribe if you want to see more. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, you can follow and give us a 5-star review if you think we're worthy. And next week, it could be 2025's best. If reports are to be believed, it is one battle after another.
Ooh.
So prepare yourself, John, for many battles.
It could be 2 battles, or
3
battles, or the Battle of 5 Armies. That could be over in 5 pages.
Wow. It's one podcast after another next week. And you can send us an email at outoftimefilmpod@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on one battle after another, and we will answer it right here on the podcast next week.
Yes, and you can follow us on Instagram at @OutOfTimeFilmPod to see our incredible thumbnails from Zain Afzal, on Twitter for more thoughts from Tom and me, and TikTok to see edited clips, which are all also on Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. And you can find links there all in the description below. Thanks to Jones-Meyer for the excellent theme, and Ronan Phillips with vocals as always. And I think that's everything for Alien Earth. Take away, Given.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.